6:06 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, there is a lot going on for your July 2nd. It is Wednesday. And thanks for listening to Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Headline from the Daily Mail. Listen to this just real quick. U.S. has now decided to halt some Ukraine weapon shipments after deciding to put American interests first. So you kind of knew this was going to happen. Maybe you were hoping it was going to happen. But apparently now Donald Trump and his administration has decided, you know what? These weapons and these, this stuff that we were going to send to you, this is, by the way, equipment that the Biden administration had approved. And now apparently Donald Trump has decided to hold it back. The United States will halt some key weapons shipments to Ukraine that were promised under the Biden administration in a devastating blow to Ukraine. And, of course, Vladimir Zelensky. White House Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly telling AFP news agency on Tuesday that the decision was made to put America's interests first following a review of defense aid given to other countries. Missiles for Patriot air defense systems, precision artillery, and Hellfire missiles are among the items being held back. They say this decision was made to put America's interest first following a DoD, Department of Defense, review of our nation's military support and assistance to other countries across the globe. So that's going to be a very big deal. I'm surprised that we haven't seen. I'm trying to figure out when this was published, but I'm surprised that there hasn't been more on this. But maybe that should be our poll question. Are you happy that we have Donald Trump has decided to rescind sending these weapons to Ukraine? These were weapons that were promised under the Biden administration. So the first story ran, I think, in the New York Times some 10 hours ago. Okay. Thank you, Joan. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I didn't see that till now. So you want to change that? Hey, KGB, let's go ahead and change. Now we have an actual legit poll question. Do you support Donald Trump pulling back weapons from, that were promised under Biden being sent to Ukraine? Because I think that is a good poll question. If President Joe Biden promised Ukraine these weapons, is it right for Donald Trump to decide, no, we're not going to send these weapons? And by the way, I do think that it's okay, but I'm not going to vote in the poll. Now, a couple of other things going on. First of all, the big, beautiful bill that is going to be voted in the House of Representatives today. Somebody said that Andy Ogles had filed a motion or a piece of legislation, whatever, to revert back to the original House version as opposed to voting on the Senate's version. I saw that story too, but the version that I read did not say that they were not going to vote on the bill. And I just grokked it, and I saw a couple of other sources that said that they will be voting in the House of Representatives at some point today. But as Joan said, we'll have to see if everybody can get back to Washington, D.C., because there's a lot of flights that have been canceled and so forth. But, part of all of this is going to be, okay, they're going to end up negotiating. The Senate and the House of Representatives, they will end up negotiating. So now what is going to happen and where will this eventually land? One of the things that I thought was interesting, and I was wrong, by the way, on something, Joan. Flag the tape. I was actually wrong on something. No. Yes. Yesterday, I said that Rand Paul might be the one. If they're looking for, you remember they had 4 possible holdouts? Mm-hmm. You had Lisa Murkowski, you had Susan Collins, Tom Tillis, and Rand Paul. I said that Rand Paul would perhaps be the one that would back out. It was actually Lisa Murkowski, apparently, that decided to vote for the big, beautiful bill. Rand Paul, Susan Collins, and Tom Tillis of North Carolina all voted no. So, you know what happened? J.D. Vance had to come in.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
All right, so that is J.D. Vance had to come in. He had to do what he had to do. Kamala Harris, when she was vice president, had to do that a number of times as well. And this was a massive undertaking. The vote-a-rama, of course, took hours. The Democrats mandating that the whole thing, all 1,000 pages, had to be read out loud in the Senate. That took hours as well. And now, here we are. Finally, it got out of the Senate. Donald Trump is out there saying that the Republican Party needs to be unified. So does Mike Johnson, whether you are in the Senate or the House of Representatives. He was on Sean Hannity's show last night.
85 to 90% of this bill is the House-generated product. The Senate made some modifications to it. They made it more conservative in some places and moderated it a little bit in others. But I tell you what, as the president said so well today, this is no longer just a House bill. It's not a Senate bill. It's the bill of the people.
So we all know what's in it. We've been talking about this ad nauseum. But when the speaker says this is a bill for the people, well, he's obviously talking about all of the tax breaks. And there's a lot of tax breaks. There's a lot of tax cuts. And the vast majority of the American people want those tax cuts. And I think, personally, the Democrats, I think that they needed to put up some semblance of a fight. But the reality is that they did not want to go into the midterm elections having to explain why they took a tax cut away from the American people. So here's what the Senate version does. It makes permanent those lower tax rates that we've been enjoying since 2018, a higher standard deduction for everyone as well, no tax on tips got through, auto loan interest deduction for cars made in America also got through, no tax on overtime, child tax credit up from $2,000 to $2,200 per child, business tax breaks as well to encourage investing in hiring, and obviously a whole lot more. So Mike Johnson was asked the question, do you think this is going to pass?
I'm confident we can. We're at the 1 yard line in this game that's been played over a year. Really, we worked on this for about 14 months to get us to this point. We're going to run it right up the middle and score for the American people. And I tell you what, everybody is going to benefit. And as you noted, all those features. It's the most conservative piece of legislation we've ever worked on. You need to mention at the same time that even though while we're having historic tax cuts, we also have historic savings. We're going to save $1.6 trillion for the American people. We're going to cut down the size and scope of government, make it more efficient, make it work better for the people. They demand and deserve that.
All right, so that is House Speaker Mike Johnson, and he had a lot more to say, including where he said that they're not done. Even if this passes, they're not done. There will be more of this, and I've got more details on that. Straight ahead, 6:15, time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you very much. 6:15, Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather for today, weather through Sunday, highs in the mid-90s with some clouds as well. Your 4th of July forecast, it's going to be some clouds, but no rain is expected, and hopefully we'll all have good views. A person on the SuperTalk line, the SuperText line, 8602, I still don't know if no tax on Social Security is in this bill. Some say it is, but some say it is not. I need it, and Trump promised it. I have your answer coming up, 8602. It is 6:15 on Nashville's Morning News on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Mike Johnson, he was on with Sean Hannity last night, and he says, yeah, there's more where this came from.
You can do a reconciliation budget for each fiscal year. So the plan is to do one in the fall for the FY26 budget year, and then we can also squeeze in a third one for FY27 before this Congress is up. At the same time, we're going to be passing rescissions packages from the White House to save more money and spending less in appropriations. We will get the government back to fiscal sanity, and we are the party to do it.
So that is now. Can I just say there's a lot of chest beating going on here with Mike Johnson. There are times when he sounds a little too car salesman-y to me, but the Republicans say that they're cutting spending. I believe that they are. The Democrats say this will increase spending. And here's the deal, and Joan, you know this better than anybody. Yeah. There's a lot of political gamesmanship here going on.
Oh, gosh, yes.
The bottom line is this. We're going to be getting the opportunity to get more of our money back. That's a big deal. To spend more of our money as opposed to the government spending it on stupid stuff. So I like the fact that, am I concerned that this ultimately will lead to more spending, higher deficit and all that? Well, of course I am. But I trust the Republicans a heck of a lot more than I trust the Democrats. I think I said yesterday that this is the same political party, the Democrats, that said that the Inflation Reduction Act would reduce inflation only once it passed for them to come back and say, yeah, we shouldn't have named it the Inflation Reduction Act because it's not going to do that. So I'm sorry, but I do. I trust the Republicans on this far more than I trust the Democrats. So the criticisms are, though, coming in from the left. The biggest one, of course, as everyone knows, is that this is going to gut Medicaid. It's what everybody's saying. It's
oh, my gosh.
Gut Medicaid.
If I hear it one more time.
It's not true, according to Mike Johnson.
We need to make sure the program is sustained for the people it's intended for. That's, the elderly, the disabled, young pregnant mothers down on the luck, for example. So that's what we do by reinstituting work requirements, right? If you're a young, able-bodied man, you should be helping to pull the wagon, not riding it. And so we have this very popular provision that says if you're going to receive Medicaid, you got to show that you're working or at least looking for a job, or volunteering in your community. Sean, for 20 hours a week. It should be much more, but that is a minimal requirement that will reduce a lot of the abuse of the program and shore it up for the people that need it the most. We're very proud of that.
You think you could handle a 20-hour-a-week job, Joan? I know I could.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't sound like that much to ask, does it? I mean, working 20 hours, and he said, or serving the community. So if you want here would be my message to people who don't want to do anything, but they still want to get their Medicaid. You want taxpayers to help you out? You want taxpayers to support you? Go pick up trash on the side of the road. Volunteer at the animal rescue place that is run by the city. I love that. And I don't believe that it is unreasonable to be asked to pull your weight. I actually love that analogy that he used. You should be able to pull the wagon and not sit in the wagon.
I love that.
I do. I've never heard of that before. Mm-hmm. But it's true. Pull your weight. By the way, let's also not forget that Donald Trump's immigration agenda is wrapped up in this bill.
We're estimating the average American will have an additional $10,000 take-home pay because of this. You will have no taxes on your tips and on your overtime. Seniors will get a reduction in taxes because of a credit they'll have, those on Social Security. There's something in this bill, literally, as the president said today, for everyone. It is great policy and is going to help the economy, help the American people, and fulfill the promises of the America First agenda.
It does not eliminate federal taxes on Social Security benefits. The parliamentarian decided that, no, that did not belong in this legislation. Now, what it does include is a temporary $6,000 senior deduction for those 65 and older. This phases out for those in the higher income brackets. This goes until 2028. The reason for this is the Byrd Rule. They say that, again, changes to Social Security in budget reconciliation bills is not allowed. So if you are looking forward to no federal taxes on your Social Security, instead, you are getting a temporary $6,000 senior deduction for those 65 and older. It also, by the way, you know what else this thing does? It reestablishes opportunity zones. Now, you remember what opportunity zones are, right? So these are those areas that, and I'm going to have to paraphrase here, but these are the areas that, they might be, areas of a city where it's not doing really well. There's a lot of crime. The city, the buildings need to update it and so forth. And so you offer these opportunity zones where if a business wants to come in and they want to, fix up a factory, they want to upgrade a factory, and they want to hire a bunch of local people, then the Trump administration will give you some, tax breaks and incentives and that kind of thing to try to revitalize these areas. And we've seen some great results with these opportunity zones. So that is what is in this bill and what is not in this bill. And obviously here, in the midst of a radio program, I can't, read 1,000 pages of what's in this thing. But, bottom line is that is what the House of Representatives will be voting on today. The biggest stuff that everybody voted on and what Donald Trump ran on, by and large, a lot of that is in this bill. It is 6:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. Joan, can you explain to me what the heck's going on with Diddy at some point today?
Oh, well, that, as a matter of fact, is my first story.
So,
We'll tell you why federal prosecutors are sweating it out over the whole Diddy trial.
okay,
Yeah.
because everybody wants to know, did he do it?
You just wanted to say that, didn't you?
Absolutely.
You didn't even care about the story. You just wanted to say that.
I'm marking myself safe from caring about the Diddy story. All right. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, that last newscast was extraordinary.
Dan.
Listen, I've got short timer syndrome. We are out of here in a couple of hours, and we've got a few days off. All right. A guy sent a note on the super text line. He is 1701. And here's what he says, because he is somebody that is actually on Medicaid and also SSI. And we're talking about how you need to, if you want to continue getting Medicaid, they're putting a work requirement on there, or they're putting on some sort of, 20 hours of community service, 20 hours of work to get the Medicaid. Here's what 1701 says. 14 years ago, by the way, he well-danned me. 14 years ago, he says, I could not walk. I was walking with crutches. I got SSI and Medicaid, and I've had both hips and both knees replaced and one shoulder replaced.
Wow.
He says, now I'm able to get out and do a little something. I got a part-time job, but I need my Medicaid to keep me alive and keep paying for the medicine that I have to take to stay healthy. So, yeah, he says, Dan, I understand your point, but you don't understand mine because you don't live in pain every single day. I actually do, because I've got to work with Joan, but that's a whole nother.
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
Anyway, here's what I would say to 1701. He's actually proving my point. Because what Trump wants to do is, if you are an able-bodied adult and you can go on Medicaid, that's fine. But if you can work, then you should be working. You're out working, 1701. You are doing it. You are walking the walk. So, yeah, I mean, if you can do it, why can't anybody else? Now, realize the point, though, is that it's for able-bodied adults. And so if somebody is not able-bodied, and it doesn't sound like you would have been able-bodied if you had to have both hips replaced and both knees replaced and a shoulder replaced, I mean, good Lord. So you would probably not have to work, because it doesn't sound like you would have been, at that point in time, an able-bodied adult. However, you are proving my point, which is that there's a lot of people who, they just don't want to go out and work, because they're getting their SSI and their Medicaid. And so they're just like, no, I'm not going to work. I'm getting all this stuff. I'm getting all this free stuff. Well, for a lot of people, the free ride is over. But if you're truly in pain and you truly cannot work, then the Trump administration is not going to make you work. And you're right. I don't live in pain every day yet. But at some point, maybe I will. But the point is that if people can work, they need to go work. Exceptions will be made, and I appreciate your input, because you know what? It's a great point. Have you ever known anyone on Medicaid, Joan?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And, you think they could have worked? I've known people on Medicaid and state benefits and that kind of a thing, and they absolutely could have worked. And I felt like those people that I knew were busting the system. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Cheating the
I know.
system.
Yes. I have a relative who does that.
He rips off the system?
Yeah.
See? I mean, a lot of people know someone.
And I want to report him, but it would just be in bad taste.
Do you? You know what?
No, I wouldn't do it, but.
I happen to know that Scott Desjardins has Donald Trump's cell phone number. We can call him right now. Joan's got a name, and she's not afraid to use it. Did you hear the absolute own
Okay, yeah, I got to hear this.
that Chuck Schumer with yesterday in the Senate? He absolutely owned the Republicans. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
This is Chuck Schumer owning.
This is with a nod and a wink. I'm sure.
This is Chuck Schumer owning the Republicans.
I raise a point of order against page 1, lines 3 to 5 of the pending amendment, which violates Section 313B1A of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974.
The point of order is sustained. The text will be stricken.
So you know what he did? You know what that was?
No.
He was very petulantly having the name Big Beautiful Bill taken out of the spending bill.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what, here's what's funny, though. That's what they now have to resort to, these Democrats.
How petty can you possibly be?
Oh, you know what? I don't know, but you seem to, you being the Democrats seem to show us new lows or new highs of pettiness. And people are still going to call it, the funny thing is, though, people are still going to call it the Big Beautiful Bill.
Right.
I mean, obviously. So I don't know what exactly it is that, old Chucky was trying to do, but the fact that when he's doing it, he has this sort of gleam in his eye, like, I'm going to show them. All right. Boy, you told us, Chuck. Boy,
Man.
we're hurting.
I feel scolded.
By the way, it does seem like have they said, Joan, that I know that we talked earlier about how there's a lot of flights that have been canceled and so forth.
Yeah.
I tried to get Scott Desjardins on the radio program this morning, but he said that he was going to be traveling.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people that are trying to get back to Washington, D.C. Mike Johnson, it was, if they can get everybody there, it was his intention to have a vote today. Do you know what I bet's going to happen? I bet you a lot of the Democrats are going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, we can't make it in.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be exactly what happens.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. It is 6:45. We'll keep you updated. 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN. At 6:45, as far as your weather goes, today through Sunday. Highs in the mid-90s with some clouds, and it sounds like it's going to be a very nice 4th of July, and you'll have plenty of sight. It's not going to be any low clouds. You know what we ought to do, Joan?
What's that?
Should we get Stefano DiPietro on here to talk about your 4th of July forecast?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Yes, I would love that.
All right. Well, see if you can get him on.
Oh, okay.
We won't take up his entire day.
Just a major portion of it.
No. I just want a quick forecast.
Just do me a favor. When we're talking to him, don't tell him it was excellent or that the forecast is cracking you up. Okay? Just keep those things like at a minimum.
Why do you take away all the fun? Lord, man. All right. Yeah. See if he can come on.
All right.
Because, when it comes to how clear it is, that's way beyond my pay grade. 6:45, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Do you know what I have? I actually ran out of throat coat, Joan.
Mm-hmm. I have some of yours.
Mason gave me one of these Celsius drinks.
Yeah.
The ones with like 100,000 grams of caffeine in it.
Perfect.
So, yeah, we'll see if I have another faux heart attack. If I do, blame Mason Fleming. All right, moving right along. Donald Trump was there at the Alligator Alcatraz yesterday. And I want to play some audio for you. Donald Trump thought that it was, it's a great facility. This is part of what he said.
How would you describe the relationship and what future does Governor DeSantis have?
I think it's a 10. Maybe 9-9, because there might be a couple of little wounds. So maybe it's not 9. I think we have a 10. We get along great.
So you know what's funny is Trump was being asked about his relationship with Ron DeSantis. And so I heard that. And I just started laughing. Do you know why I started laughing? Because of this.
Ron DeSanctimonious. So I call him Ron DeSanctimonious. Ron DeSanctimonious.
So just like Donald Trump and Little Marco, remember Little Marco? Now he's known as the Secretary of State. DeSantis used to be known as Ron DeSanctimonious, which I thought was stupid right from the get-go, because I'm a fan of Ron DeSantis. But it was a name that stuck. But here's the crazy thing, is that he and Trump, it was like they were best buddies again. And so for DeSantis, I think that there is a reason why he really wanted to jump on this. I think that he does have some presidential aspirations in 2028. And so one of the things that the president was asked, and Ron DeSantis was asked as well, was to talk about and comment on their ever-evolving relationship.
The thing about it is, I endorsed him immediately in January 2024. I raised one of his PACs millions and millions of dollars. And obviously, we saved him a lot of money in Florida because Florida was a deep red state. He didn't even have to do a rally in Florida, whereas 2016 and 20, this was like ground zero. And so we've been, really happy to do that. And then we've worked very well on this and other issues with Florida. You can call him at any time, and he wants to be helpful for governors. I mean, I can tell you that. We did Hurricane Helene last year. You didn't hear from the president at the time then. But with President Trump, we know immediately, you just make the phone call.
Yeah, so DeSantis, he takes a shot, of course, at Biden, which is easy because there's a lot to criticize with Joe Biden. But then he throws Donald Trump his props. And Trump talked about it, this relationship that has clearly gotten a lot better between he and the man formerly known as Ron DeSanctimonious. This is more of what President Trump had to say.
It's been just a beautiful, beautiful partnership. So, Ron, I'd like to thank you personally. You're my friend, and you'll always be my friend. And we may have some skirmishes even in the future. I doubt it. But I will always come back because we just we have blood that seems to match pretty well. We have a relationship that's been a very strong one for a long period of time, and I appreciate it. Very much appreciate it.
By the way, that skirmish CNN is reporting, Joan, that the House is going to take up the Senate version of Donald Trump's massive agenda bill soon.
Oh, okay.
So it should be in the next, several hours. We'll keep people
I'm seeing that
updated.
too. Okay, good. And Stefano, by the way, says he'd love to hang out with us. So I will have him on.
Do we have a time?
I'm working on that part now.
Excellent. Well, you just let us know.
Oh, my gosh.
By the way, the skirmish that by the way, somebody also said when my voice went, you know what somebody said, Joan?
What?
Oh, Dan's got a crack in his voice. So everybody else is chiming in too, just so we're clear.
Okay.
The skirmish that Trump was talking about in that audio bite, by the way, could be related to a couple of things. Number one is Trump endorsed Byron Donalds as Florida's next governor. And DeSantis, his wife, Casey, was considering a run.
Yes.
So that may have, caused a bit of a crack in the relationship. Also, don't forget that in 2028, you're going to have J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and also possibly Ron DeSantis. So that might be Donald Trump saying, listen, if you run for president, it doesn't mean, even though you came up with the alligator Alcatraz, doesn't mean that I'm going to endorse you. So it's little things like that. You never quite know with Donald Trump where you stand. I say that with all due love and affection. But a couple of months ago, Trump and Elon Musk, they were the best of friends. They were inseparable. And then, of course, we all know where it is now. But, talking about all the presidential aspirations of Ron DeSantis and so forth, that wasn't discussed yesterday. Yesterday, it was all about alligator Alcatraz. It was all about helping Donald Trump deal with all of these illegal aliens, the violent criminals, and how they can get them out of here quickly.
We're offering up our National Guard and other folks in Florida to be deputized to be immigration judges. We're working with the Department of Justice for the approvals. I'm sure Pam will approve. But then I'll have a National Guard judge advocate here. Someone has a notice to appear. Biden would tell them to come back in 3 years and appear. Now you'll be able to appear in like a day or two. Yep. So they're not going to be detained, hopefully, for all that long. We'll have people here in this facility that can make, it's a bureaucracy. The president's got to deal with the bureaucracy. Now, that Supreme Court ruling was good because that's going to allow him to be able to exercise Article 2 the way founders intended. But you still have bureaucracy. So we want to cut through that so that we have an efficient operation between Florida and DHS to get the removal of these illegals done.
So there you go. What they're going to do is use the Florida National Guardsmen as immigration judges. DeSantis asked for approval, and Trump said abso-flippin-lutely. Now, these are qualified people. It's not like they're going to, use the janitors. These are JAGs. They're known as Judge Advocate Generals, and they've been around for years. DeSantis himself was one of these. They are basically known as military lawyers. So this is a great idea. You just heard DeSantis say that this gives us the opportunity to fast track these folks out of here. So great news. It is 6:53 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones has the newscast coming up at 7 o'clock. Joan.